This is the video where I basically try to do a review on the first Red Rising trilogy. So lock in, because this is my opinion and I just kind of want to share it, and I hope you enjoy. Red Rising is written by Pierce Brown. These books in front of you are the first trilogy of the series, and it's published by Del Rey, which is, I think, a part of Penguin Random House Publishing. I figured for the plot summary, I'll kind of describe it myself, and then we could read the back of the first book. This story takes place way into the future, where humanity is divided by a caste system of color. You have the rulers of the society, which are golds, then other colors leading all the way down to reds, which are the lowest. The story follows our protagonist, Darrow, which he's actually the lowest of the low. And the story follows him, and it's just, through his point of view, and it's just a wild, wild ride. So I figured we could read the back as well, kind of see what it says back here. This ain't a spoiler, because obviously it's meant to draw you in. So the back of the first book says, his wife taken, his people enslaved, driven by a longing for justice and the memory of lost love, Darrow will stop at nothing to bring down his enemies, even if he must become one of them to do so. For the first time, Red will rise. So that's kind of like the plot of these books. And what these books really do well is character and character development. So the character development for Darrow is very interesting to follow throughout the 3 books. Without going too many spoilers, the events that happen to Darrow and around him, you really get to see the effect that those things have on him and how he views the world from book 1 to book 3. There's just so many memorable characters, good ones, bad ones, and it really kind of just depends like how you define good and bad, because some characters, the definition of good and bad could overlap. There's kind of a gray area for a lot of them. So I can't really name my favorite characters because there's just too many. And I just don't want to introduce some characters from, book 3 that you haven't been introduced to. I don't know. So there's just so many good characters in this book. The major themes in the book, I would say, deal with race and class struggle, just because humanity is divided into a hierarchy. The higher colors on top believe themselves to be better than the lower colors, obviously. And other themes of the book, you have war, you have love, you have friendship, which is very important in this book, in these books. You have power and politics, rebellions, freedom, and the complexity of, at what point are you the villain? Yeah, there's so much going on in these stories. It's amazing. The writing style of Pierce Brown is, I personally really enjoy it. I haven't looked into anyone else's opinions online yet of certain aspects like that, so I don't know how other people feel about it. Personally, I was locked in from the get-go. Not many pages in, I was already hooked. The books do a great job of drawing you in, from the beginning. And I did not lose interest at one point going through these books. Really, once you pick up this book, you don't want to put it down. So, you really grow attached to the world and the characters. So I think Pierce Brown, the author, did a really good job on these books. Obviously, you can tell that I really love these books. As someone who over the past few years has gotten really into reading as a hobby, big shout out to my wife for that, by the way. I think these books are a great place to start for someone who isn't really a reader and who kind of wants to get into reading, especially if they like sci-fi movies and fantasy. I think it's a great place to start. The writing style isn't intimidating. The story and the moments from the books are just the best words to describe is epic. There's so many memorable moments that I still think about from the first book to the third. I'm not a professional book reviewer. This is my first ever real YouTube book review. But I'm sure there are critiques to be made about these books in the writing style, or from that to just maybe other key points. But personally, as someone who I really enjoy reading as a hobby. I've gotten more into it a couple years, now. I personally, these books really captivated me. I love the characters. I love the lore. It's just amazing throughout. The trilogy was perfect, in my opinion. I wouldn't have changed a thing, even the gut-wrenching parts, and there are so many gut-wrenching parts. This is like Game of Thrones, there's going to be moments where you just did not see coming, and you're going to like be so mad for a minute. Like, why did this happen to this character? Why did the, X, Y, and Z happen? Like, but it all comes together, all just, I wouldn't change a thing, That's what makes these books just so enthralling and just really lock you in, is because of obviously the events that happen. And Pierce Brown, he knows what he's doing. Like, not many books have really made me like sit up and react and like freak out like these have. I'll go ahead and say, like, this trilogy is a 5 out of 5 for me personally. I almost don't even want to read the next trilogy because I just love the way that these concluded. So I've heard some people's opinions about the next ones, the next few books. Not like bad things really, from what I've heard, which is very little, but just that you have the gut-wrenching parts of this trilogy times like 10. So I don't know. We'll see. There's just so many memorable moments in this book that I think about. Book 1 does a great job just giving so many epic quotes. One that I think about often, I'll share it. So I don't know if this is a spoiler or not, so I don't think it is, but just be warned. So from book 1, you have this quote: "You do not follow me because I am the strongest. Pax is. You do not follow me because I am the brightest. Mustang is. You follow me because you do not know where you are going. I do." And then you can look into book 3. I'm not going to read this because it's very long, but when you get to book 3, or if you've already read it, the rising tide speech. You know what I'm talking about, and if you haven't read it yet, when you get there, you will know. It's just so epic. Darrow has aura. He really does. He is just so awesome. These are the 3 books in the trilogy. You have, of course, Red Rising here in the middle. The second book is Golden Sun to the left, and Morning Star is the 3rd book to the right. I just finished that last week, or this last weekend, yeah. Very cool covers. They draw me in. I think I first heard about this series on TikTok, and just kind of like people just raving about the aura, and like really cool like quotes. And I've read some books that did not draw me in. They're hard to get into. They're just fun, and they make you feel engaged in the book. They lock you in, as I've said. So they're just really cool covers that really make you want to pick this up off the shelf if you're just passing by. It's like, think of like Star Wars and Dune. I compare it to like those movies. I've not read Dune yet. That's on my TBR. But just like the vibe of Darrow reminds me of like a Paul Atreides or Anakin Skywalker. Like, there's conflict there, within him. And it's just, but also he just has that aura, that leading character energy that's just so epic. I give these books a 5 out of 5. I think if I had to rank them, I would say my favorites in order, from most favorite to least, which, least, is still a 5 out of 5. But I would say Morning Star is my favorite. That book just blew me away. The original, the first one, Red Rising, is my second, and then Golden Sun, that kind of middle book. Don't get me wrong, they all have just moments, and there's written well, and like they're all great, 5 out of 5s. But in that order, I would say those are my favorites. So with that being said, I cannot recommend these books enough. I know I didn't critique much of the books, but I personally just don't know what I could critique. But please tell me in the comments what you think about these books. Would you read these books, and have you already? If you've already read these, what are your thoughts on them? Did I miss something? Was there something that you could honestly critique that I missed or didn't really go into, and just tell me what your thoughts are. And but yeah, that's basically it for this video. More book reviews to come. This is a new start for me, a new channel. So yeah, thank you for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll talk to y'all later.